Imagine standing in the middle of a brutal European winter 40,000 years ago. The wind is howling at 60 miles an hour, driving shards of ice against your skin. The temperature has plummeted to a mind-numbing -40. Survival isn't just difficult. It's a minute-by-minute battle against biological shutdown. In this frozen wasteland, two species of humans are fighting to survive. On one side, you have the Neanderthals. They are built like absolute tanks, short, stocky, with thick bones and massive chest cavities designed to retain heat. They've lived here for hundreds of thousands of years. They are the undisputed kings of the cold. On the other side, you have us early Homo sapiens. We are tall, slender, and evolved in the warm savannas of Africa. By all laws of biology, we should have been the ones to freeze. Yet, when the deepest freeze of the Ice Age arrived, the Neanderthals vanished forever, and we inherited the Earth. For decades, scientists believed we simply hunted them to extinction or outcompeted them for food. But groundbreaking new research reveals a much more chilling truth. The Neanderthals didn't lose a war. They froze to death because of a single, microscopic flaw in their survival strategy, a mistake so subtle that you probably make it yourself every winter without realizing it. Let's look at the physical matchup first, because on paper, Neanderthals had every advantage. If you ran into a Neanderthal today, you'd notice their incredible build. Their bodies were evolutionary, masterpieces designed specifically for glacial conditions. Their shorter limbs reduced the surface area from which heat could escape. Their large nasal passages warmed the freezing air before it reached their lungs. They even had a higher metabolic rate, meaning their bodies naturally generated more internal heat, like a roaring furnace. Homo sapiens, by contrast, were evolutionary weaklings in this environment. We had long, thin limbs that practically radiated heat into the freezing air. If we stripped naked in an Ice Age winter, we would have lasted minutes. So how did the physically weaker species survive while the biological tanks perished? The answer lies in how we protected our bodies. For a long time, we assumed that because Neanderthals were smart and used fire, they wore warm clothes. And they did, to an extent. They would skin a bear or a reindeer and drape the heavy hide over their shoulders, perhaps tying it off with a bit of sinew. It kept the wind off their backs. But here is the critical difference. Neanderthal clothing was essentially a collection of heavy capes. They didn't sew. They didn't tailor. Now you might wonder, does a little bit of sewing really make the difference between life and death? The answer is a resounding yes, and it comes down to a concept called the microclimate. When you wear loose-fitting animal hides, air flows freely underneath. Every time you move, cold air rushes in, and the warm air your body worked so hard to generate escapes. This is called the bellows effect. To stay warm in sub-zero temperatures, you need to trap a layer of still air next to your skin. Homo sapiens figured this out, and they did it by inventing a technology that changed history forever: the eyed needle. By carving tiny needles out of animal bone and mammoth ivory, early modern humans could pierce tough hides and thread them, together with sinew or plant fibers. They didn't just drape fur. They cut it, fitted it, and sewed it into tight, form-fitting trousers, parkas, and boots. They created the world's first layered clothing system. These fitted garments sealed the cold air out and kept the warm air in. While a Homo sapiens hunter could stalk prey for hours in absolute comfort, a Neanderthal hunter wearing loose hides was constantly losing body heat to the wind, slowly slipping into mild hypothermia. Over days, weeks, and months, this constant thermal stress drained their energy, weakened their immune systems, and made them vulnerable to the slightest illness. But the clothing gap was just the beginning. The way these two species lived in. Their camps during the long winter nights sealed their respective fates. When archaeologists excavate Neanderthal caves, they find hearths. They definitely knew how to use fire, but their fires were usually located right at the entrance of the cave or scattered randomly. They didn't build complex shelters inside the caves. Homo sapiens, on the other hand, were master architects of the cold. We built sophisticated, insulated tents inside caves and out on the open tundra using mammoth bones as support beams and covering them with sewn, weatherproof hides. We created internal hearths with clever draft systems to keep the smoke out and the heat in. Our homes were cozy, draft-free microenvironments. This brings us to the ultimate question. Neanderthals were highly intelligent. They had large brains, they made beautiful stone tools, and they painted cave walls. Why didn't they just look at what Homo sapiens were doing and copy them? Why didn't they start sewing? The answer isn't a lack of brain power. It's a lack of social connection. Neanderthals lived in very small, isolated family groups. They rarely interacted with other groups, which meant their gene pool was small, and their pool of ideas was even smaller. If a brilliant Neanderthal inventor did figure out how to make a needle, that knowledge likely died with their small tribe. Homo sapiens lived in massive, interconnected social networks. We traded tools, ideas, and materials over hundreds of miles. When one human group invented the bone needle, the technology spread like wildfire across the entire continent. We survived because we shared our innovations. The extinction of the Neanderthals wasn't a sudden, dramatic event. It was a slow, agonizing process of attrition. As the glaciers advanced and the temperatures reached their absolute lowest, the Neanderthals simply ran out of energy. Their biological adaptations weren't enough to fight off the extreme cold, and their isolated social structure prevented them from adapting culturally. They froze, not because they weren't strong, but because they tried to fight nature with muscle instead of innovation. It's a powerful reminder that physical strength and individual intelligence are nothing compared to the power of human connection and shared knowledge. If you want to keep exploring the fascinating mysteries of our ancient past and discover how we became the last humans standing, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.